Hey guys, it's Jason Dunn here from Digital Home Thoughts, and this is part 2 of my first impressions video of the new Dell Mini 10. This is the new Dell Mini 10 as of basically February 2010. I don't know if Dell's going to keep calling all of their 10-inch netbooks Mini 10s, in which case the next model is going to be called the new Dell Mini 10, but here it is. So I've already talked about in my previous video all the specifications for the device. I've talked about the ports and how it looks and whatnot. So I thought in this video I would actually boot it up and show you a little bit about what it comes with and sort of my initial impressions about it. So I'm going to flip open the lid here. And I do know that some of you like to, see how long these things take to boot. So I have a little handy stopwatch here. I've already booted it up once. I've already done, actually twice. I've already done the Windows update. So this is kind of as close, I think, as we're going to get to a complete, sort of system boot. So what we'll do is we will hit the power button and see how long it takes to boot up. So, while it is booting, I'll talk a little bit about some of the other features that are coming soon. So I had mentioned before in the last video that just like with the original Dell Mini 10, Dell added things like GPS and a TV tuner and a few different options, but they rolled out after the fact, and so they're doing exactly the same thing with this particular unit. So the unit they're shipping kind of right now, as of February 2010, does not actually have any of these extra features. You can't get the high def screen. You can't get any of those other things. Now it's just about done booting here. We're going to wait till we see the desktop. We see the cursor, but not the desktop just yet. And we'll see how long it takes to show the desktop. Please wait. Welcome. We're almost there. Come on, Atom N450 processor. Log in. Okay, this is actually taking a little while, so it's obviously doing something in the background. There's some McAfee antivirus software, which of course clogs up the whole system. Right now we're at a minute and 15 seconds, and then boom, there's the desktop. So at minute 17, I have a sneaking suspicion that that's not entirely accurate. Maybe after I uninstall the antivirus software, it'll get a little bit better. But right now, as you can see, it's loading up. There's our little start chime. It is loading up the system. Let me just zoom in there a little bit. Now, I'm going to point out a couple of things. One of the main things is that this uses the same trackpad as the Dell Mini 10. Now, I didn't really like that trackpad, and I'm not frankly really sure if I'm going to like this one. And the reason why is that I tend to sort of I tend to sort of use one finger to move things around, and then sometimes I'll sort of like rest the other finger here, and that can sometimes cause some issues. So this is really just all about kind of retraining yourself. If you're used to having a trackpad that has completely separate hardware buttons, it will take a little bit of time to get used to, but it is certainly something that you can get used to. So here is the system. Now this is using Windows 7 Starter, and you may be thinking to yourself, oh, well, why can't I change the desktop background? I've seen that question asked quite a few times, because if you look here, if I right click on the desktop, it's still chugging along here. You can see, and I'll just actually zoom in here. You can see that there's a, oh, my camera's having a hard time focusing. You can see that there's a screen resolution option and there's gadgets, but there's no personalize. So under personalize, that's where you change the desktop wallpaper. That's where you change the arrow color, so like the color of the actual windows. And basically none of that can be changed with Windows 7 Starter. So yeah, it's a bit of a suck factor. I'm pretty unhappy with Microsoft for the fact that they did it. Windows 7 is a great operating system, but it does kind of suck that they decided to cripple this version. The biggest reason why they crippled it, though, of course, is because they didn't want the price of Windows 7 to impact the price of netbooks too much. But the weird thing is that according to a comparison I did of identical netbooks that once had Windows XP and then they had Windows 7, the Windows 7 version was $50 more expensive with identical hardware. So the price of a netbook went up by $50. The bulk of that probably went to Microsoft for licensing fees. So then why did Microsoft, put a crippled version of Windows 7? I don't know, you'd have to ask Microsoft. So anyway, that's something I'm a little bit unhappy with. But let us bump up the screen brightness here. Or maybe that is already up all the way. Oh, There we go. There we go. Now it's up all the way. So it definitely has a nice and bright screen. I'm going to zoom in up top here because this is the Dell dock. So this is actually some software that Dell, it's actually StarDock software, but basically this gives you access to you know, kind of all the stuff on your computer, some quick ways of accomplishing certain functions. You can see it's kind of dragging here a little bit, probably because something, yeah, the hard drive is still thrashing away. So it's probably that stupid antivirus software in the background. But anyway, yeah, so this is the Dell dock. Now, here's kind of one of the issues with the Dell dock that I'm not too happy with, is on a netbook that is limited in resolution. So this one is, if memory serves, the resolution I think is like 1024 by 600. I believe, and when you only have that much resolution, you don't really have a lot of resolution to lose. Yeah, so it's 1024 by 600. Now you don't have a lot of vertical resolution. 600 pixels is not a lot of vertical resolution, and when you're giving up, you know, maybe 50 or 80 pixels here, I think that really adds up. So I would probably disable the Dell dock, and you can do that by, I think, right-clicking and saying close the dock, and then you can say yes, I want to close the dock. Now, in terms of other things, let me just take a look here. We'll take a look at the Windows Performance Index. Now, I hope that it has run the Performance Index and it'll actually give me a number here instead of system rating is not available. I guess we will see. Darn it, yeah. See, so I didn't actually run this on batteries, or I didn't run it rather when it was plugged in. So I'm going to pause the camera here for a second. I'm going to run the Windows Experience Index and come back and we'll check out what it says. All right, and we're back, and here is the Windows Experience Index. So the CPU clocks in at a 2.3. The memory, RAM, clocks in at 4.5. The graphics is a 3.1. The gaming graphics, which is the 3D graphics, is a 3, and the primary hard disk is a 5.6. Now, how do those numbers kind of compare to other netbooks? Well, I happen to have Windows 7 on my MSI Wind U100. So this is one of the actually, I think it's the first netbook I reviewed, or maybe it was the second one. I purchased this back in August of 2008, so we're talking about a year and a half ago, a little bit more. That one rated a 2.2 on the processor, so this is a 2.3, slightly better. It rated a 4.5 on the memory, so basically identical. It rated a 2.1 on the graphics, and this is a 3.1. So there definitely has been an improvement in the graphics on the netbooks, but it's still not much to write home about. The MSI Wind U100 rated a 3.0 on the gaming graphics, the same as this one, and 5.3 on the primary hard disk. This is a 5.6. So pretty close together. So what do all these performance numbers mean? Well, it basically means that the new Atom 450 processor and the overall kind of chipset that comes on netbooks today really hasn't changed in terms of performance at all in kind of the past year and a half to 2 years. What has changed, though, is the battery runtime. So the new Pinetrail chipset that ships in these newer netbooks has gotten a little bit better in battery life. Nothing huge, but a little bit better. Probably one of the biggest differences in battery life of kind of netbooks today is that 6-cell and even 9-cell. 6-cell has kind of become the new 3-cell. So a year and a half ago, it was typical for pretty much every netbook that you saw to come with a 3-cell battery. But as I pointed out in my unboxing video, Dell actually changed the chassis of the new Mini 10 in order to incorporate a 6-cell battery. So what that should mean is that you should see fairly significantly improved battery life, certainly over the 3-cell version. So that about wraps it up for my first impressions of this netbook. Overall, I'm pretty impressed with it so far. You know, the keyboard's pretty good. The screen is nice and bright. It does have that huge thick bezel around it, but I've sort of gotten used to that, frankly, because most netbooks tend to have a pretty thick bezel. Windows 7 starter kind of sucks. I should point out, though, and this is kind of important, is that if you do get an optical drive, and of course, in case you didn't already figure this out, like all netbooks, this has no CD or DVD drive. But if you do get an optical drive, you can actually use it's called Windows Anytime upgrade, I think is what the official version is called. And you can actually pay a fee to Microsoft. I'm not sure what the fee is. I'll look it up in post-editing here. But you actually can pay a fee, and it'll actually upgrade your netbook from starter to home premium. So then you'll be able to change your wallpaper and basically do all of those other things that home premium can do. Is that really important to you? You know, is it worth spending the money to do? Completely up to you. The alternative, of course, is to go out and buy a copy of Windows Home Premium and install it yourself over this. But the upgrade, the anytime upgrade, is actually the smarter way to do it because all your drivers and basically all the work that Dell has done stays intact. Okay, so that's about it for my first impressions. It's been Jason Dunn from Digital Home Thoughts. I hope you've enjoyed the video. Please feel free to subscribe, rate the video, and comment. Thanks for watching.